Happy Super Bowl Sunday. If it makes any difference.
And instead, we watched Sherlock Holmes.
Right. Well, so I used to work for an advertising analytics agency, and so the Super Bowl was our most important event, and we would do all of our coding and analysis live over the course of the evening. And this is the second year that I have not had to stay up until 3 a.m.
God.
Yes. And, I can actually watch things now. Wait, that happened, and then type. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I'm much happier at a job that doesn't require me to do that.
I feel like that's the kind of thing AI might actually be good for.
We did use some, but we still needed the humans to sort of take things over the edge. I mean, AI can identify a lot of brands, but it can't say, well, if it's a co-branded ad, this brand is more important than the other one. Things like that. So there's a lot of nuance that actually the humans are necessary for. Okay. And then the CEO has to appear on CNBC the next morning at 6 o'clock with all the data. Yeah. I was just glad I wasn't working for marketing because they were up. Okay. Well, welcome to Goodnight, Mr. Holmes, a podcast about the Granada Sherlock Holmes, which ran on ITV in the UK between 1984 and 1994 and ran on Masterpiece Mystery in the US around the same time. I'm Laura.
And I'm Rachel.
And today we are looking at episode 34 in the series, The Eligible Bachelor. This is yet another two-parter, so we'll pick up the conclusion in the next episode.
It was first published as The Adventure of the Noble Bachelor in the Strand in 1892.
And there's virtually no remnant of the original story in this production.
Yeah.
I think just one where she drops her bouquet.
There's a whole lot of padding, though.
Oh, God, yes. So we open on a woman screaming. She's being hauled out of a building by two men, and a straitjacket's being put on her. Her screams are frightening the horses that wait outside, and so to quiet her screams, a matron slaps a cloth with presumably chloroform onto her face as the woman protests. And then she loses consciousness and is put into a carriage that has bars on the window, and the carriage drives off.
Yeah, so insane asylums in the 19th century are like, we could do a whole episode
just on that. Yes, and I have notes about this particular one.
Yeah, so I'll just say that if you're interested, read Nellie Bly's 10 Days in a Madhouse.
Yes, absolutely. So it's a foggy night. Holmes and Watson are in a carriage heading who knows where. Maniacal laughter echoes as the opening credits roll, and Brett stares while he glowers into the camera.
Unblinkingly.
Unblinkingly, yes.
Jeremy, blink. You're making me nervous.
Right. So Holmes tells Watson, this is the asylum at Barnet. There was an asylum at Barnet called Friern Hospital. It was built in 1850 and held 2,000 inmates. By the time of the story's publication, conditions had deteriorated severely. I can't talk.
As always seems to happen.
Yes. I mean, these institutions are notoriously underfunded. The asylum passed through a lot of administrative oversight over the next century and finally closed in 1993.
Wow.
Yeah. Notable inmates include Adam Ant, a couple of Jack the Ripper suspects, a 1980s serial killer, and one of Aleister Crowley's wives.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was ultimately converted into luxury apartments, as is the trend, and has been a popular residence for early 2000s British pop stars.
There was a TV series somewhere in the 20 teens that had that as a the premise was a horror series.
Oh God, I can imagine.
Let's say it was maybe called Asylum.
Okay.
Maybe?
Yeah, I mean the trope of the haunted mad people,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, members of One Direction, Girls Aloud, and the Sugar Babes have all lived there. And I guess unscathed. And Watson says, the mystery that must be behind those walls. There's no escape from the terrors of the mind, Holmes says.
So let's make everything worse.
I know. Indeed. Well, another case concluded, Watson says. Bah, I needn't have left at Baker Street. An observant child could have solved it, Holmes says. Watson raps at the roof of the carriage with his walking stick, and they head for home as the screams continue. The carriage pulls up outside 221B, where Mrs. Hudson is waiting by the window. Holmes gets out, wishing Watson good luck on a seminar that he's giving, and Watson thanks him, saying
We never do find out what the seminar is about.
No, we don't. And Holmes, he warns, don't be bored. Which, yeah, good luck with that. He drives off, and the maniacal laughter starts again as Holmes puts his key in the lock, but instead of entering, he walks away, leaving the key dangling in the lock. And at this point,
Mrs. Hudson just raised his rent for that.
I know. Well, at this point, I already was like, I hate this episode because of the proximity of the material to Brett's mental illness.
Oh,
yeah.
And
it's all unnecessary anyway, because the original story has nothing to do with madness of any kind.
Yeah.
And it feels super exploitative of Brett, who is, at this point, deeply unhealthy.
Yeah.
But according to Bending the Willow, much of what goes on in this episode is actually Brett's own idea, which in many ways is even worse. Because obviously the money had to be fed, and nobody exercised any kind of duty of care over Brett.
Yeah.
And later, of course, retrospectively, he was horrified by scenes in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's where somebody needs to step in and say, yeah, okay, but you are not actually Sherlock Holmes, and this is not really how Holmes would behave.
No, it's very definitely how Jeremy Brett would behave.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hudson opens the door and sees Holmes leaning against a lamppost. As a couple of merrymakers come past him, cackling, the laughter is amplified in Holmes's mind, and he kicks over a small grate that's burning a fire by the curbside.
Yes, so let's just start street fires. Like I was so confused by this point. Like, what is going on?
And the streets are covered with manure in this episode.
Yeah, and fog. It's a very foggy London episode, which also doesn't help. I suppose they were using it as a metaphor for mental illness, but again, that's not what this is about.
No, exactly. No, so my objections are like almost physical, it's a visceral response.
Yeah.
The scene mercifully changes. There's a couple on horseback, and they're looking out over a beautiful country vista. The woman says, Glaven Castle, I love it. It's so beautiful, Robert. I never expected it to be so beautiful. And it's really always belonged to your family. For about 400 or 500 years or so, Robert says. And
I have the note that Robert looks like Glenn Riggio, who was the late head of Barnes & Noble.
Yes! I was like, what? Because I was like, Rupert Everett or, Anton Lesser, but no, Glenn Riggio.
Glenn Riggio.
Yeah.
100%.
So the woman laughs and she kisses Robert and starts riding off. I want to see it, she says. No, Hattie, Robert says. But she's laughing, and they're riding around the grounds, and they look at the castle from across a lake. She reaches out a hand to him, and he pulls off her glove, revealing a ring, so we know that they're engaged. Later, as they're sitting under a tree, she asks a little petulantly, why can't I see it?
Because her eyes are closed. If you open your eyes, you can see it.
My darling girl, you don't understand. I can't just drop in at Glaven, and neither can you. You may be utterly divine and impossibly rich, but you can't. But why can't I? You own it. You're Lord St. Simon. It's your house. She's got a really, almost abrasive American accent.
Yeah.
It's an ancestral home, Hattie, not just mine. You see, it's the servants that really live there. Practically every one of them has spent more of their life at Glavin than I have, and I won't have them put out, Robert said.
Why would they be put out, though?
Well, if they arrived without warning.
Oh, I was interpreting it to mean like replaced or fired or something.
No. I see. So
I
even
won't have the servants inconvenienced.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a generous point of view.
Yeah. It does really reek of an excuse. I can't imagine somebody of that social standing would think that much of servants.
Yeah, it struck me as unusual too. I see. So even when we're married, if I want to visit, I have to send on ahead, Hattie says. Yes, preferably a day or two ahead, he tells her. Oh, I didn't realize, like royalty.
Have you not read Jane Austen?
Yeah. So Glavin Castle is actually Eastnor Castle in Herefordshire, and it's not 400 or 500 years old. It was built in the early 1800s. It's a private home and mostly used for filming locations, most notably for Shiv and Tom's wedding in Succession.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I actually, once I read that, I was like, oh, yeah. I recognize it now. Later, the couple is back on their horses and Hattie is asking, will it be all right, Robert? What, my darling? Will they mind about me and what I am and where I come from, she says. The servants, I mean, and your family. They already think of you as being wonderfully exotic, he tells her. But I'm a miner's daughter from a mining camp.
This is terrible writing.
I know, it is.
As you know, Bob, we are brothers.
Yes. Pa might have been digging gold out there, but it still makes me a miner's daughter. Doesn't matter, he says. Perfect education for the country life. You'll have the whole country at your feet as you have me. They ride past a large cage in which is a cheetah, which startles the horses. The cheetah lunges, but the cage is too high. What's it doing here? Hattie asks. There's always been some sort of zoo at Glavin. I know the fellow who's interested in keeping it going. And she hops off her horse and walks closer to the cage. You know, I fancy that cat's from the Americas like you, Robert says. Perhaps it's come to welcome you. What a wild and beautiful thing, she says. Not half as wild and beautiful as you, he says, tipping his hat a little. Blech.
Yeah.
Hattie is mesmerized, and the cinematography here is weird.
Oh, my God. Close up on her, close up on the cheetah, close up on her eyes, close up on the cheetah eyes, merging of half her, half cheetah. Like, oh my God, stop.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Get these vertical slit pupils. And I'm like,
oh God, we are 9 minutes in and I have no idea what's going on.
So zoos at country estates are a whole thing. And this is what I was texting you about yesterday. Probably the most famous is Longleat Safari Park, which is the home of the 8th Marquess of Bath. The zoo was started in 1966, and that is the least bizarre aspects of that family. The 7th Marquess was, here's Wikipedia on him. He had open sexual relations with over 70 women during his marriage, many of whom lived in grace and favor in estate cottages. Lord Bath referred to his mistresses as wifelets.
Charming.
Yeah. Oh, he was depraved. His son, the 8th Marquess, actually seems quite lovely. He married
comparison to his ancestor, that seems like a low bar.
Yeah, it is. But he is quite lovely. He married Emma McQuiston, who is now the first Black Marchioness in British history. And as you can imagine, the marriage was not looked upon favorably by the 7th Marquess and his actual wife. It's a whole story, and I would encourage anyone listening to look it up. Anyway, that's where zoos and in country estates gets us. At 221B, Holmes is asleep, lying in his nightgown on the wicker sofa, open books and papers scattered all around. Noises from the street enter his dreams. And we're looking at a scene where two flower girls on the street are arguing. One is being restrained by a man, and a couple comes out of a nearby house and watches the goings on. So the nearby house, it's across the street. It's 128 Baker Street, and this is important for later. Holmes continues to dream, and I'm not even going to describe it.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Well, here's Bending the Willow. I'm going to let them describe it. Nightmares filled with weird images of torn chairs, a strange creature reaching towards him through a mass of cobwebs, flashes of the cinematic tumble over the Reichenbach Falls with Professor Moriarty, and also there's a large fork. Holmes snaps awake. He sits up, grabs his drawing pad, and mutters, "Water, water into dust." And then we're at a London manor. Like, I think it's sort of on the outskirts of London, but it's definitely in London. It's not Gloven Castle. I was confused at first. Hattie is lounging barefoot as the larger St. Simon family pulls up to the entrance and begins coming out of the carriage. These are all older women dressed in black, yammering and bickering as they enter. They are a bunch of old biddies. One of the women is in a wheelchair. Hattie watches all of this from the window. And then another woman, a young blonde, comes in with a dress and says, "It's arrived, and so have they."
And I guess Hattie is watching it the way they have her filmed.
Yeah.
She's wearing this low-cut
dress,
like boobs. And
and feet.
She's sitting in a window, and it looks like some prostitute soliciting customers.
Exactly. Oh my God, yes. Yes, like they do in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
All that's missing is the red light in the window.
Yep.
So as the newly arrived family makes its way into the house, Lady Helena in the wheelchair is saying, "They sent the child to Paris." "What for?" says her twin sister Agnes, who was walking just behind her. "To school. Americans do send their daughters to Paris. That's what I was given to understand." So they're talking about Hattie.
Yeah, it took me a couple of minutes to figure out what they were talking about. Because this episode is so confusing anyway. There was like, what are we talking about? What is going on here?
Exactly. Yes. No, it's extremely disorienting, the whole thing. You know, in my experience, one of the women is saying, and I can't tell who, because the camera is now focused on Hattie, who's listening from the stairs, "Paris breeds either frivolity or philosophy, neither a helpful companion in life." "No, I suppose not," says another woman, who I think, according to IMDb, is Lady Florence. I mean, I just can't keep track of these ladies.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway.
Well, at least the child is not an actress, Lady Helena says. And also, to add to the confusion, Lady Helena and her twin, Agnes, are played by the same actress.
Oh, great.
But rather than doing split screen, they're just kind of hiding Agnes's face as a double is doing much of the body acting.
I'm sitting here shaking my head.
I know. It's like, oh my God.
This is like, how many ways can you film this badly?
And to think that The Last Vampire got bad reviews.
That was actually the high point.
So Lady Helena / Agnes is played by Anna Calder Marshall, who is married to David Burke, the original Watson.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, they got, and David Burke was still a friend of the show, even though he was no longer in it. Yeah. So Hattie puts on her stockings and her shoes, and she runs back to her bedroom and flops on the bed. "Oh, Alice, Alice, Alice," she says. Alice is dealing with Hattie's clothing, her trousseau. "Now, Hattie, they're your future family. They want to like you. They want to like Lord Robert's future bride. Stop being so silly." Alice is American too, and it looks like she's Hattie's lady's maid. "But Alice, have you seen those women?" Hattie says. "Now, Hattie, I'd like to remind you of a certain incident that occurred in Pumpkin's Gulch not 2 years ago," Alice says. "The bear. Alice, I was scared to death," Hattie says. "You faced that bear down." Yes. I mean,
oh, Hattie. This thing. Well, Alice, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I know my name. You don't have to keep saying it.
yes, there's a lot of that. And this whole like Pumpkin's Gulch, that's like such a stereotypical American name for a place. There are no gulches in England, apparently. I couldn't move, I tell you. You faced him down, Alice insists. You believed in yourself and you did it. Now you get down those stairs. So she joins the ladies in the parlor, and Lady Helena tells her, my dear, you cannot live at Glavin. Why not? Because Glavin isn't fit for habitation. But it's just perfect. We'll soon get it round. I say it's the most beautiful place I've ever seen, Hattie says. Lady Helena takes her hand as, I think Lady Florence says, don't you remember how lovely it was when all the men came with their scythes to mow the park, and the summer parties, every lamp in the house was lit, and outside the smell of the hay in the moonlight. You remember? Yes, yes, Lady Helena says, I remember, and she squeezes Hattie's hand. So I guess we're meant to understand they like her.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, at Glavin, a workman is throwing kitchen scraps to the cheetah, making sure to lock the cage. So
they look like potatoes. Just throwing potatoes to the cheetah.
And apples. Right. Like, where's the meat?
Cats need meat.
Yes. At 221B, Mrs. Hudson is bringing up a dinner tray to Holmes, who is reading, well, kind of declaiming his correspondence. Dear Mr. Sherlock Holmes, my father has run away. Will you please help me find him? Timothy. Holmes sighs. My cat Boswell is missing. Money no object. Holmes is still in his nightgown. He spends a lot of this episode in a nightgown. Although
the entire episode. Well, yeah, I think he does change at the very end.
He changes in the middle too, when he goes to the theater.
Oh, yeah.
But he has put a robe on. He lights his pipe and then holds the match up to this large etching of the Reichenbach Falls that hangs above the fireplace. He goes back to his sketchbook where he's drawn out the visions that he's seeing in his dreams. And it looked to me like a banshee, a disheveled woman with pointed teeth and pointed nails, a spider web, just page after page after page of this.
Yeah, so we're about 15 minutes in at this point, and in terms of the story, I still haven't been given anything to really anchor myself.
Yes.
Like, there's a noble guy who wants to marry an American, and that's the sum of what I can make sense of at this point. If we weren't watching for the podcast, I would have turned it off at this point.
Yeah, me too.
We're 15 minutes in, and I still have no idea what's going on.
Meanwhile, to add to the confusion, a woman, and we don't see her face, is writing a letter to the editor of the London Chronicle. We can tell she's on the young side. Her hands, compared to the Biddy's hands, aren't particularly wrinkled. She seals the envelope, puts a navy blue veil on over her face, over her hat and her face. So she looks kind of like a walking mushroom.
She looks like she's going out to deal with bees.
Right. She takes the letter out of her home, which is kind of a hovel with some luxury furnishings in it, like a woman down on her luck. At the London Manor, one of the biddies is saying, I'll tell you what I think. She's extraordinarily pretty. That's what I think. And I think Robert is head over heels in love. That's what I think. And Bella thinks so too. Don't you, my little angel?
It's her chihuahua.
A long-haired chihuahua. Well, actually, I think it's a Yorkie.
Is it?
It's a small dog with longish hair that sometimes goes up in a ponytail. And then she's talking about what Bella says, and I can't make heads or tails of it, but it appeared not to be terribly flattering to Hattie, but still Hattie smiles. Did you catch that dialogue?
No.
Dear Henrietta, you mustn't take what Amelia says too seriously, Lady Helena says. I didn't hear a word of all that, says another biddy.
Yeah, neither did we.
Yeah. Hattie laughs. Robert so deserves you, my dear, Lady Helena says. He's been unlucky in love, and his business... Hush. Mary, remember. I guess it was Mary who was talking. Why can't I finish what I was going to say, Mary says. When do we dine? Says Lady Helena, trying to change the subject. Exquisite, says Amelia with the dog. I like that whole conversation makes no sense.
Yeah. Why is it even here?
They remind me a little of the three witches from Macbeth, except there's four of them. They're all dressed in black, uniformly, with a ton of jewelry.
They all have white hair.
All have white hair, wrinkled faces, wrinkled hands. And at this point, I was like, I'm just going to regard them as a kind of Greek chorus.
Yeah, and also, most of these scenes could have been cut. Like, there's so much padding here. All of this is padding.
It is. Yes, except for the when they were on horseback looking out at Glavin.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the London streets, two prostitutes are arguing, grappling with one another and shrieking. Polite society passes them by. Holmes does too, but he sees a little boy selling flowers and he bends down. The mysterious woman in the veil is walking past him and her veil trails over his face as she passes. Holmes stands up and walks away. He is dressed. He passes a theater where actors are rehearsing for Henrik Ibsen's play Ghosts. He goes in the stage door. They seem to know him. He comes backstage watching the rehearsal. They act out a whole scene, which I'm not going to recount here because it's stupid. Until the leading lady suddenly says, "We're being watched. I will not rehearse in front of strangers."
Perform in front of people I don't know, but I'm an actress.
She gets up and walks off, and the attendant, an older matronly woman, hands her a shawl, which the actress flips over her shoulders, and the shawl also brushes against Holmes' face. I'm like, get another gimmick.
Yeah. What is this even supposed to mean? This means nothing.
And there's a weird scene where Holmes is hallucinating some kind of man like dancing. It's really hard to tell. It's like a shadow. I don't know. I give up. He walks out of the theater back onto the street, which is absolute chaos. In her dressing room, the lead actress has uncostumed herself and is in a silk robe. She accepts a bouquet from the attendant, who also hands her a note. The actress
I like her robe.
I did too. Yes, red silk, like with butterflies on it.
Yeah.
The actress's name is Flora Miller, and she crumples the note up. "What are you looking for then?" the attendant says. "Mind your own business," Flora says. "It's not Lord Roberts," the attendant says. "It's our damned anniversary, isn't it?" Flora says, flinging the bouquet at the wall. 7 years. "Your damned anniversary," the attendant says, "not his. You know it. He knows it. The cat knows it." What's the matter with you? And that's probably the most sensible thing anyone has said in the course of this entire episode. She puts on a battered black hat, and Flora yells at her, "Get out. Go and get me another bottle. Go on." After the attendant leaves, Flora says, "I'm not his whore to be paid off. He trusted me." She gets up from her vanity and she turns to the mirror. "I'm not your whore, my lord." And she envisions Sir Robert smirking at her. "Now come and use your whore, my lord. You'll never have anyone do what you want like me." Which, okay.
It contradicts
what
she just said. And then she makes this face at the mirror that just sort of implies she's really good at blowjobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we cut to Hattie making a similar face, because I guess we're echoing the oral sex theme.
I guess, yes. So at the London mansion, everyone's in the dining room. There's an enormous floral arrangement in the middle of the table, through which Hattie and Robert are kind of peeking at one another, and Hattie sticks out her tongue. There's a grape seed on it, which she flicks down to her plate. An American man, Hattie's father, in a tuxedo with a Texas drawl, which is, again, stereotypical because they weren't mining for gold in Texas. Texas is where you go for oil. He's talking to Lady Helena. "You'll pardon me if I don't drink any of that French chateau wine. I guess it's too refined for my taste. Some would say too civilized. I'll drink your health, but it'll be in Samuel Marculin's rye." And this is a brand that does not exist. I looked up multiple spellings. He takes a big swig. He's got the rye in a wine glass. "A smoky kind of whiskey. I travel it with me all over." How very
I get drunk in lots of places.
Yes. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Clancy Brown, who he does a lot of SpongeBob work.
Yeah,
but he was in Billions, and he was in The Crown. He played Lyndon.
Yeah, he's been in everything.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
But this actor kind of reminded me of him. Aloysius Duran is played by a jobbing actor named Bob Sessions. An interesting connection is that he also played a traveler. I guess gypsy is an outdated term. In the 1995 production of Little Lord Fauntleroy, which was also filmed at Eastmoor Castle. Once 1995 comes around, he'll be on familiar territory. Lady Helena says, how very wise, Mr. Duran, very wise. If one has an established taste, why then, just so, just so. So she approves, it probably because he has lots of money. As they're dining, Holmes continues meandering around the city.
Yeah, so we're
bouncing back and forth.
For like, why were we shown that scene?
I know. He passes by another couple of trollops. They're like prostitutes abound in this episode. And he walks to the edge of the Thames on this kind of dock kind of thing. It's flat. I guess it's more of a launch than a dock. Back at the dinner, the men have withdrawn to the study for brandy. And Aloysius is saying, you know, don't you, I've settled a considerable amount on Hattie for when she's married. Yes, he knows. That's why he's marrying her.
As you know, Bob, we are brothers.
Yes. She's very conscious of your generosity, sir, says Lord Robert. She's mentioned it more than once. Sure, says Aloysius. Now tell me about this house of yours. Great house. Sad looking, they tell me. I'll accept that, Robert says. But I'm not prepared to lay out more for the time I spend there. Hattie's told me how beautiful it is, Aloysius says. I think she'd like for it to be one of her homes. One of her homes. I would want to please Hattie in any way I can, but I'm not sure that living at Glaven is possible. Why not? Aloysius says. You've always been very frank with me, Robert says, so I'll admit something to you. When I was much younger and barely had a grasp of affairs, I was very badly advised, financially, I mean. In what way? I was persuaded to sell off outlying parts of Glaven until there wasn't enough income left to sustain the house.
And my note here is, how are you this stupid?
And also, how are you paying the servants that mostly live there?
Yeah.
Then he says mortgages were taken out, which has left even less income. And nobody warned you of the consequences? I trusted my advisors. They were my father's advisors.
Did your father hate you?
You're right. When you grow up in a place like Glaven, it seems eternal. Sure, I see that, says Aloysius. And he's flexing his hand on which there is a signet ring. And just out of focus is a photograph of Hattie. Meanwhile, Holmes has left his perch by the Thames. At the theater, God, Flora is dressed and drinking vodka, it seems, and reading, or gin, reading the newspaper, probably gin. The attendant comes in. I'll be off then, Miss Miller, and you should do the same because there's no point in your doing otherwise. Flora mumbles something to herself as she reaches for her glass and pours more of the gin. She tells the attendant to leave. The camera focuses on the newspaper. Eminent bachelor to marry. Do we ask why? And this is where I was so glad I have like a huge TV. There's a photo of Lord Robert and a small paragraph that says he's going to be married in private. In other circumstances, it would be regarded as highly unusual that no formal announcement was made. However, it has long been understood that Lord St. Simon guards his private affairs with the utmost jealousy. And Flora spills her drink all over the paper. Aloysius, back at the mansion, is handing Robert a check. Here, this should kick things off for you to make a start at Glaven. You're very generous, sir, Robert said.
And his expression is like, I was expecting twice as much.
You look after my girl, I'll look after your house. And they shake hands. And Robert departs, getting in a carriage. And he says, the Park Club. Flora, meanwhile, leaves the theater, telling the handsome cab, the Park Club. So a confrontation. The two carriages arrive at the same time. Robert catches a glimpse of Flora and runs up the stairs to the club. She pulls out a gun and shoots, but misses him. Flora tells her cab to go, and meanwhile, the porter at the club is looking around, utterly bewildered. He finds the bullet mark. It's chipped off a bit of trim on the building, nothing more. I guess the handsome cab driver doesn't care that he's got a woman with a gun.
And Flora was like, I hate that building.
At Glavin, restoration work is being done, and the workmen are a little leery of the cheetah who has killed a rabbit. That's where he's getting his meat.
Sure.
At the park club, Robert is gambling. And I was like, oh, that's where the money's going.
Yeah.
Another man comes over to him and murmurs in his ear, remember our agreement, my lord, this quarter's payment, or I foreclose the mortgages.
There are a million candelabras.
Yes.
I've just discovered a new way that I could have died in olden times. Like, there's no way I wouldn't accidentally bump into a table, knock over a candelabra, and start a house fire.
Exactly. Yes. And here I was reminded also of Lord Lucan.
Yeah.
Gambling everything away. There's a zoo in that story too.
Of course.
Lord Lucan.
Yeah, that's right. He collected weird animals, didn't he?
His friend did.
Weird animals, exotic animals.
Yeah, exotic animals. Yeah, his friend did. And his friend ran this gambling club that Lord Lucan was a member of. I am to be married later this morning, Gallagher. The bride's father is the richest man on the Pacific Slip. Anything she wants, he'll give her, as long as we keep her happy. All right, let's keep her happy then, Gallagher says. My partners and I have no wish to own Glavin. Please don't force us to take it. Rest assured, it will never come to that, Robert says, sliding Gallagher the check that Aloysius has given him. And then he excuses himself from the gambling table. Holmes is still roaming the streets of the West End. He arrives back at 221B and realizes he's left his keys. He's locked out. He groans. He leans on the door, and suddenly it opens behind him. Mrs. Hudson is sitting on the stairs, holding his keys.
With a look of, your rent is about to go up again.
Again, yes. Holmes kneels before her and takes them. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Is that a look of reproach? No, she lies. No, I'm often up at this hour.
I don't think she was lying. She was being sarcastic.
Holmes sits down on the floor. I don't relish sleep these days. So the wedding is on. Aloysius is escorting Hattie down the aisle. The rings are exchanged. The old biddies are sniffing and smiling.
Run, it's not too late.
The little dog is wearing a little wedding dress and has its own tiny bouquet. At 221B, Holmes is once again thrashing around, dreaming or hallucinating. More torn chairs, a woman cackling and screeching, more Reichenbach, a large fork, cobwebs, the same dream as before.
Yeah, if you have to pad out the runtime like this, then maybe you should be making the episodes shorter.
Yes. Holmes wakes up in a cold sweat, clutching a portrait of what looks like Rasputin, but Bending the Willow says it's a picture of Jesus. He flips through his drawings again, muttering what he's doing, clutching a picture of Jesus. That's so completely out of character for Holmes. I can't even. Yeah. Rasputin would be more in character.
Yes.
Hattie walks down the aisle happily when she spots someone and drops her bouquet. They leave the church through an archway of raised swords and hurry into a carriage. Hattie snaps at the driver as he tries to help her. And then Flora comes out of the bushes. She's wearing a black and yellow ensemble with a large hat and a fishnet veil. Then there's the other woman dressed in gray with a navy blue veil. She's also there. Lord Robert looks stricken as he gets into the carriage. At 221B, Holmes is scraping on his violin as Mrs. Hudson lets Watson in downstairs. Thank you for coming, doctor, she says. Why didn't you call me earlier, he asks. I didn't know what to do, she says, beginning to cry. She sits down on the stairs. He won't admit it, of course, but he's not well. I'm very worried about him. You should have called me earlier, Watson says. I mean, yes, they are doubling every line of the script.
Yeah, that was my note too. You just had this conversation. Stop padding the runtime. We are 27 minutes in and have yet to get to the point.
You know how masterful he is, she protests. I don't dare disobey him. And Watson smiles a little and pats her on the shoulder, and he goes upstairs. He's got his bag with him, but the door is locked. He knocks. Holmes is standing there.
Watson have his key? Like, well, Watson still lives there. He was just away for the seminar. We had to pad out the runtime. Sorry, I forgot.
Holmes is standing there, a blanket half over his nightgown. Finally, he opens the door and sits down heavily on the wicker couch. What do you know about dreams? He demands. Why do you ask? Why? I'm walking through infernal territory and you ask why.
This is where I went to, while leaving the episode still running, I went to the Wikipedia summary of The Noble Bachelor to refresh my memory. Like, I can see why they padded it out. There's not much to the original story.
Right.
But that should maybe have been a clue that they should have chosen a different story to adapt.
Yeah, they haven't done The Dying Detective.
That's right. And I don't think they do.
This is probably their, like, mashup.
It's a very bad mashup. It is so badly edited.
And The Dying Detective is so much of a better story.
Yeah.
That is one thing that BBC Sherlock did really well.
Yes.
I only meant, Holmes puts his finger to his lips. I don't know what I meant, Watson says. He walks through the crazy drawings that Holmes has been making of his dreams. There's a group in Vienna led by a doctor called Freud, psychologist. And then he says something in German that I can't understand.
Mm-hmm.
He begins to look at Holmes's drawings. Please don't look at them, Holmes says. They're only scribbles for reference. Does he seek to explain dreams? To interpret them, I believe so. Their relationship to the life of the dreamer, Watson says. They aim to be scientific, I gather.
This is all an advertisement for The 7% Solution by Nicholas Meyer.
Yes!
Which is a really good book. This is where we could just sit here and talk about how good that story is, as opposed to this one.
A science of dreams. Well, Holmes says. My dream is horrible. I'm fighting with Moriarty at the falls, and suddenly I'm overwhelmed with a sense of loss, fear, yes, fear, empty rooms. I have no sense of scale, a huge chair, which diminishes, its upholstery torn to shreds. I'm struggling to escape from a marsh, a quagmire, the Grimpenmire, and then appears an androgynous creature, witch-like, hag-like, if so, not androgynous.
He's been dreaming about going over the falls with Moriarty, except that never actually happened.
Yes! Exactly.
Why is he haunted by this?
I don't know. Although, well, I think we're going to get to it. With claws, talons, which reach out to me, through me, and I'm trapped in a mesh of cobwebs, and I wake, and he does not mention the fork.
And I'm really hungry.
Well, it's a big fork. It's like a pitchfork almost.
I'm very, very hungry.
Watson says, are you eating? Good point. Holmes gives a little smile. Watson goes over to the table where the chemistry set is, and he sets his bag on it. You sleep badly, you have bad dreams, you're sleeping worse. I don't have bad dreams. I have one dream more than once, Holmes says. Well, let's see how you really are, Watson says, rummaging in his bag. No, please, don't start that, Holmes says, and I'll tell you something else. I regret Moriarty's death. He turns to Watson and nods. Tell me, how would you describe Moriarty? Evil, Watson says, a giant of evil. Giant, yes, quite so, Holmes says. Without him, I have to deal with distressed children, cat owners, pygmies of triviality. You see, Moriarty combined science with evil, organization with precision, vision with perception. I know of only one person he misjudged, me. So that's why he keeps dreaming of because
he's bored.
Well, even if you go down with Moriarty, Moriarty's nonetheless gone, and it's a loss.
Yes.
As far as he's concerned. Holmes gets up and goes into his bedroom. Put away your medicines. How was your seminar? Lively, Watson says. He goes over to Holmes's desk and checks the syringe in the desk drawer, but it is unused. At the wedding banquet, Patty is nervously looking at the window as the guests begin to arrive from the church. Flora appears in the courtyard, ducking out of the way of these arriving guests. One of the biddies says to Lady Helena, there's something wrong with the child. She's as nervous as a cat. A hat? Oh, yes, Amelia does look curious in a hat. I never thought about it before. I mean, And then someone says, even you were nervous as a bride. It's not that. There's something wrong. Hattie races upstairs. The butler's coming down, and he says, I was about to announce, my lady. Give it 2 or 3 minutes, would you? And she keeps going upstairs. Flora rings the bell, standing imperiously with a long walking stick, and a footman opens the door. Get that girl for me. Get her. Get her. She's screaming. The assembled guests are remarking on the scene. Lord Robert goes to the door, snatches the walking stick, and breaks it. Flora rakes her fingernails down the side of his face, drawing blood, and he clutches at her. Where is your dignity, Miss Miller? In the cold gutter of your heart, Lord Robert. Trampled in the gutter.
She needs a better writer.
Oh my, they all do. Remember who I am, he says. And she lunges in to kiss him through the fishnet veil. Must have felt weird. And he pushes her away. She crumples into a corner at the side of the house. I wish the child's joy of you, she says. Now, Bella, there's the famous Flora Miller, says Amelia to her dog, who at this point is wearing a tiny bridal veil. This dog goes through more outfits. She used to be a friend of Robert's, but I don't think she likes him anymore.
Oh my God, this is Howard delivering exposition.
Yes, I know.
An old lady talking to her dog who's wearing a bridal outfit.
Robert comes back into the house and is confronted by Aloysius. I can explain everything, he says, dabbing at his face. It was a long time ago. Hattie is running out the back way, a large black cloak over her wedding dress. She goes up to Flora. Who are you? Flora says, and Hattie pulls back her hood. Flora touches her face. And compared to Flora, Hattie really is a child. Mm-hmm. You know, she's like round and juicy. In the house.
But also, I don't understand that little interaction at all. Why is
I don't either. I don't either.
It has nothing to do with the mystery.
Unless it's jealousy. I don't know. In the house, Lord Robert is seated at the banquet table. Alice is rushing around looking for Hattie. The candles are lit. The wedding cake is in the center of the table. Lord Robert dismisses the footman. Aloysius comes into the dining room. The house has been searched now from top to bottom. Not a sign of Hattie. Nothing. Alice knocks on the dining room door and comes in. One of Miss Duran's gloves is missing, sir. Nothing else? No, sir, not even a purse. Aloysius thanks her and she leaves. Robert stands up from the table. We must call the police, he says. What about this woman of yours, this actress? Could she have anything to do with it? Aloysius asks.
No, she's a red herring.
I don't know, Robert says. I don't know. I'll get the police, Aloysius says. Do you have any objection? No, Robert says, because he just said he was going to call the police. Aloysius leaves and Robert walks to the window. Where are you? Oh, my darling, he says. Back at Baker Street, the late editions of the paper are blaring about a missing bride. Mrs. Hudson buys one of them and meets Watson on the stoop. Watson goes upstairs and, at this point, properly examines Holmes' pulse, temperature, all of that. I've told you what you should be doing is eating properly, he says. Mrs. Hudson comes in. This has come. It's marked most urgent, she says, handing him a large envelope, putting it right in his face. Mrs. Hudson, I can still see. Are you all right, Mr. Holmes? Holmes looks up at Watson. You know, I wish I'd never unlocked the door. He turns to Mrs. Hudson. No. He takes the envelope and Mrs. Hudson leaves as Holmes passes the envelope to Watson. It's got a crest and a monogram. That's not prudent. This morning's mail was from a fishmonger and a tide waiter. So a tide waiter, I looked that up, is a customs officer. Watson opens it. Oh, it's a fashionable epistle indeed. Dear Sherlock Holmes, Lord Blackwater tells me that I may place implicit reliance upon your judgment and discretion. Scotland Yard is already active in this matter. If there is no objection to you, Holmes stands up abruptly and rushes into his bedroom. It's about that Lord St. Simon's wedding, Watson calls after him. And he pulls down a copy of Burke's Peerage from the mantel. Yes, dull, dull, dull. This is back when Burke's Peerage was one volume. A big one, but still. They multiply, these aristocrats. Holmes lies down on his bed with his sketches, weirdly putting one foot on a nearby chair. Watson's flipping through Burke's Peerage. As he's doing this, Lord Robert pulls up in his carriage, which also has a crest on it. Watson's reading out the description of the crest from the book. Azure, 3 caltrops in chief over a fess sable, meaning the shield is blue. There are 3 caltrops, which is an ancient 4-pronged weapon, Roman weapon in the shape of a cross, over a black stripe. And the motto in Latin at the bottom says, the little cross of faith. So that was a fun little dive into heraldry. That's him, all right, Watson mutters. He goes into Holmes's room. It's Lord St. Simon. He's early. Oh, Watson, I'm trying to sleep, Holmes grumbles. You know my methods. He shoos Watson away. Leave the door open? And he rolls over. In the sitting room, Lord Roberts is on the wicker couch. Where is Holmes? He's asking. Mr. Holmes is indisposed, my lord. He has entrusted the preliminaries to me. I know his methods. Very well, Robert says. Apart from the distress this has caused me, you understand the delicacy. And I was like, well, it's all over the papers. The moment of delicacy is past. Indeed, Watson says. Indeed. Lord Blackwater said that Mr. Holmes has handled cases of this sort before, though hardly, I imagine, from the same class of society. He would, in fact, be descending, Watson snarks. Sir? Mr. Holmes's last client of this sort was a king.
We operate on discretion here.
Holmes, in his room, sits up. Oh, Watson. Oh, I had no idea, Robert says. Which king? You can understand, my lord, that he extends to the affairs of other clients the same secrecy which is promised you and yours.
And that's why I published the details.
Yes. Of course. Robert leans back. I should mention at this point that Robert is played by an actor, and we said he is Len Riggio's doppelganger. The actor's name is Simon Williams, who is married to the niece of Ian Fleming, who the James Bond books. I'm like, England is a very small country.
Seriously.
How are we to find her, sir? How can she have disappeared? In his room, Holmes walks to the window. A breeze is blowing the curtains and his nightgown around. Where is she? I must have her back. Down on the street, the blue-veiled woman is back. Holmes looks down at her. A woman obscured, he says. And she's standing in the doorway of 128.
28.
Yeah.
And I have the note here. How much time is left?
I know. Mrs. Hudson, oh no, she's not standing there at this point. Mrs. Hudson comes back from the shops with her little basket and she passes the woman on the street, takes no notice of her, but the woman stares after Mrs. Hudson. It was after the ceremony outside the church that I first noticed something was wrong, Robert was saying. As you came out and not before? No. And as she came in? She appeared a little apprehensive, Robert says, but she looked quite lovely and very happy. Downstairs, the veiled woman pulls out a note from a small purse and hands it to Mrs. Hudson, who looks mystified. If I remember rightly, the newspapers implied that Miss Miller was drunk when she made the scene at your front door, Watson is saying. As far as I could tell, yes, it was likely. I'm like, she kissed you on the mouth.
Yeah, but that's her normal state, so I couldn't really tell if this was normal drunk or particularly drunk.
My lord, would it be in order to ask about the nature of your relationship with Miss Miller? Yes, if somewhat naive, she was my mistress. We parted some months ago. I was, I believe, generous.
The expression on Watson's face is,
And that was when you met Miss Duran? Before, in fact. Miss Miller's drinking had already led to some scenes. She was becoming very unreliable. Which, I mean, not to mention an aristocrat actually marrying an actress was not done back then.
Yeah, that's the whole Irene Adler thing.
Right, exactly. Do you think Watson breaks off as Mrs. Hudson knocks, and she cracks open the door, but she sees he's in consultation. She closes the door again. Do you think Miss Miller the sort of person to seek revenge beyond embarrassing you a little? Drink affects people unpredictably, Robert says. The chap at Scotland Yard also believes Miss Miller to be implicated in Hattie's disappearance. Mrs. Hudson knocks again. Hadn't you better answer the door, sir? Robert asks. At which point Holmes comes out of the bedroom, still in his nightclothes, and goes out into the hall. I know, Mr. Holmes, Mrs. Hudson says, but the circumstances are odd, though. I felt you should see this. Holmes opens the note from the veiled lady, and it says in all caps, "What of ladies Maud and Helena?" The woman, as a lady, no doubt about it. There was something about her. Compelling, I call it. Most compelling. Yes, thank you, Mrs. Hudson, Holmes says, a bit dismissively, but she continues. Never mind her clothes and her veil. It was her voice. She was a lady. Eerie music starts up. Did you say she wore a veil? Holmes asks. Yes, sir, Mrs. Hudson says. Mrs. Hudson, I feel a faint cold fear runs through my veins, Holmes says. He looks absolutely ghastly.
Yeah.
He's pale. He doesn't have just bags under his eyes. He's got a whole steamer trunks under his eyes. He just looks bad.
He does look like he hasn't been sleeping.
Oh, sir, Mrs. Hudson says, would you put a match to the fire? He asks. Of course. He crumples up the note, throws it on the floor. Comes in, closes the door, leans against it, and puts his finger to his lips as if he hasn't been making a racket this whole time. Like, Robert's not going to notice? By the Thames, constables are searching in the river. As a couple of canoes go by with officers in them, Hattie's wedding dress floats to the surface.
And I'm so glad that we interrupted what would have been an interesting introduction between Holmes and Lord Robert for this little snippet that could have been placed anywhere.
Anywhere.
This is so badly done.
It is. It is. Inside 221B, Mrs. Hudson is lighting the fire, and Holmes has given up any pretense of being indisposed. He's still in his Now, Lord Robert, he says, if I were to mention the names Maud and Eleanor, to you, would they mean anything? Certainly they would, Robert says. Watson moves in close to Holmes. They are the names of two women to whom Lord Robert was previously married. And I'm like, Bluebeard alert.
Yeah, can we get to what happened to his wives?
Married, Holmes says. He turns to Robert. You were married? Forgive my friend's surprise, my lord, Watson says. And I'm like, yeah, Holmes reads the Dear Abby section, not the gossip columns. Why didn't you tell me? He mutters to Watson. You said you wanted to sleep. Well, I'm wide awake now, Holmes growls. And he twitches a little smile over to Robert and kneels down in front of him. But you were known, even celebrated, as one of the most eligible bachelors in the country. And Robert laughs mirthlessly. I never chose to be celebrated, Mr. Holmes. And Holmes make a kind of go-on motion.
Yeah, like you're not really answering my point here.
I've always been very contented that my marriages be kept from the public gaze, Mr. Holmes, he says. Why? They were not comfortable experiences. And Holmes snorts. Comfortable? Painful indeed, Robert says. Painful. It's clear that Holmes doesn't really respect Lord Robert.
Yeah.
That is what I said, Mr. Holmes. They have no bearing on the matter at hand. Then would you oblige me by telling me how your marriages ended? The first ended in my wife's death, the second by annulment. I see, Holmes says. He walks over to the window. The flower girls on the street below are at it again. A couple of policemen lead one of them away, and she's drunk and singing very loudly. I see, Holmes says again, sitting down in his chair. And the grounds for the annulment? It was annulled, Mr. Holmes, Robert says. Okay, say nothing without saying anything. Then we see a grappling hook pulling the waterlogged wedding dress out of the Thames. Lord Robert then departs. It's pouring rain now, and Holmes asks Watson to go get Mrs. Hudson. Mrs. Hudson, I want you to describe to me the woman who gave you the note, he says, as she comes in with a cup of tea. I could try, sir, she says. I'm like, she already did. She said she was a lady. You must do more than try. You must succeed. Well, and Mrs. Hudson suddenly points out the window. Look, sir, on the other side of the street. That's her. And indeed, it is. This is the point where she's standing in the doorway of 128 Baker Street out of the rain. A carriage passes by, and then she's gone.
The carriage is passing by really fast, though. So unless she was running a marathon, that's not
She's
really.
Not, yeah.
Not really a thing that could happen.
Right. Holmes drops his tea and races through the sitting room. Come, Watson, he yells. And then he's out on the street in his night clothes and slippers as the woman, who is now in a carriage, if not the carriage, is telling the driver to go. She's struggling with her purse. The chain is caught on a part of the carriage. Holmes jumps in front of the carriage, which knocks him over into the flooding street full of horse manure.
Oh, and his night clothes, back then they weren't like pajamas. It was like a really long
night shirt.
Yeah. White linen. And
yes.
I think we all know what happens to white clothes when they get wet.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Well, he was wearing his robe. Bless the Lord.
But the robe was open.
Yes, the robe is open. A ticket and a book float near him in a puddle, and he grabs them up. Watson's running over to him. I despair, he says. What is it? A train ticket and an accounts book, Holmes says. It's just figures, no address. He holds up a finger, thinking. Lady Hattie gone. What of Maud and Eleanor? He jumps up. Out of the way, Mrs. Hudson, he yells, but she's only come down to see what's wrong with him. That phrase is from Oscar Wilde's latest play, something about losing a relative. To lose one parent may be considered unfortunate, Watson says. Holmes is dripping manure water all over the house.
His rent is going up again.
Yes, that is what the veiled lady was trying to imply, Holmes says. To lose one's wife may be considered unfortunate, but to lose three begins to look like carelessness, Watson finishes. Grand carelessness, Watson. Holmes races up the stairs. Quickly, who is this woman? I must read your notes on Lord Robert. Later, the woman is back in the doorway across the street, and then she opens the door and goes inside. She takes off her veil, but we still can't see her face. Mm-hmm. Oh, be reasonable, Watson. I will eat, Holmes says. So he's wrapped up now in a blanket and presumably a fresh nightshirt. Hopefully he's had a bath.
Yes, I was going to say.
And he's got a dinner plate in front of him. We aren't leaving this room. You need rest, Watson says. Rest? Then you'll have to interview Durand tomorrow morning. All right. Holmes holds up his fork. The science of dreams, he says. What if they're an undiscovered language like our ancestors thought of them? Prophetic. Watson has his hand on Holmes's sketchbook. Yes, you may look, Holmes says. Watson throws back the cover and looks at the drawing of the banshee. Precognizance, Holmes says. He picks up the account book. This little book, we must wait until it dries. The woman with the veil. And I'm thinking, if the accounts are written in ink, everything's a mess. You're not going to get anything from that. The camera closes in on another of Holmes's sketches, which is a cheetah's paw and the banshee's talons side by side. Watson picks up the sketch of the cobwebs. She must be found, Holmes says. Across the street, the woman is sobbing. And that's the halfway point in this episode, where we still don't know what's going on.
Oh my God, we've just gotten to the mystery.
I'm just like, oh God. And I don't even have any notes except, plot holes you could drive several trains through.
Yeah.
Like,
this was all padding. You could have taken all of this out.
Yeah, exactly. So later, Holmes did come to regret. Brett came to regret this episode a great deal, especially all of his changes to the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, he was on some kind of trip.
Must have been a fun one.
So he apparently at the beginning, he's telling the author of Bending the Willow, I am really looking forward to this shoot. We're going to have lots of water and I'm going to get very wet. It's going to be great fun. When he spoke of that scene again in the last year of his life, his opinion had changed greatly. He groaned. Oh, the nighty scene. It's an abomination. I wish I had never done it. When I saw it, I put my head in my hands in horror. It is so wrong. And it says there was a lot that was so wrong about The Eligible Bachelor.
Yeah.
Despite being lushly photographed, the plot was twisted and extended in such a grotesque manner that it had an air of overblown grand opera about it. And the press was not kind. They praised the production values, but nothing else.
The outfits were pretty.
Yeah. One of the reviews says, while I can imagine a hypothetical 21st century audience deriving some pleasure from The Last Vampire, let them be aware of The Eligible Bachelor. They may actually die laughing. You know, that 21st century audience. The author goes on to say, who was to blame for this sorry state of affairs? Well, rather like the killing in Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express, everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah. Yep.
Spoilers for Murder on the Orient Express.
You don't know by now. Yeah. Yes. He was hurt by the reviews and by the critical comments that Dame Jean Conan Doyle made to him privately.
What the fuck did you guys do?
Right. Partly because he knew they were right. Yeah. So, any other thoughts on this?
You could probably skip this one too. I mean, not our podcast episodes, of course.
Definitely
but,
not.
The Granada series, you could probably skip this one.
Yeah. And lose nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, the same could be said of Vampire, honestly.
I think we did say that of Vampire.
Yeah, I think we did. So, I mean, this is kind of like the worst indulgences of 1990s British drama.
Yeah.
There were a lot of like hallucinations episodes in different shows of the time, including some Agatha Christie, renditions. It was a trope that they relied on, I guess, for padding. I don't know.
Huh.
Any other?
I don't remember, but the 90s are not that. Those memories are not terribly strong in my mind.
Mm-hmm. They kind of are in mine. There was even some of that in I, Claudius, which was another. Yeah. Although, wait, I, Claudius might have been the 70s. And there was poison involved. But I'm just thinking, what British productions was I watching in the 90s? That was definitely one. Agatha Christie adaptations were another.
The Last Detective, a 90s series?
The Last Detective or The Singing Detective?
The Last Detective.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's pretty good. I
did see The Singing Detective, both versions, and the one with Robert Downey Jr. is pretty great.
Okay.
But hallucinations they're part of the plot.
Right. And that's the difference.
Right.
Like I remember Buffy, which was a 90s TV series, had, I think, a hallucination episode, but it was an episode and it was a big part of the plot.
Right. This business is inexcusable. Completely.
Yeah.
Oh. Any other notes that
No. That's all from us this week. If you've enjoyed the show and haven't subscribed yet, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to support us, you can leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or whatever platform will let you leave 5-star reviews. Tell your friends. And join us next week when we'll be discussing The Eligible Bachelor Part 2.
Yes.
Where there should be actual plot.
Crossing my fingers. Talk to you then.
Bye.
Bye.